Hello CAT aspirants, welcome to this special series of CAT videos from Careers 360. I am ARKS Srinivas, ARKS as I am known. I was a former director of Time, started my own online training way back in 2012 at Vistamind Education and the president of Career Launcher till very recently. I'm going to take you through various videos and make you prepare for this CAT 2024 and hopefully ace it to success. Let's start in the first video today. We're going to look at how to attempt the CAT exam itself and each of the three sections that you have. You have 120 minutes to solve, 40 minutes for each section. How do you make sure that you maximize your scores? Yes, everybody prepares quite a bit. Lots of people write the mocks and try to get some whatever kind of percentiles. But is there a method in this madness? Is there a way in which every section that you attempt, that every 40 minutes that you attempt, you can maximize the score from what you know? Please realize that what you really know, and I'm telling you that is where we come to the first slide itself in a moment. If you can do the paper, make sure that you utilize all the knowledge, basic knowledge and skills that you have and do it correctly in the exam, you can probably get into an IIM without much ado. And that's where the first one that I'm going to talk about is attempt to CAT the strategies for each section. But before I start, there are certain elements of success. You need to know what are you good at. What are your zones of comfort in each section as such? If I take Quant for example, are you really good in arithmetic? Within arithmetic, are you good in, let's say, time and work, time, speed and distance, or averages, mixtures, alligation? What really are you good at? Or what are you very good at, frankly? And do you also know where are your weaknesses? I think that zone of comfort can take a decision or can help you take a quick decision while writing the exam itself. You need to also realize one more thing. This CAT exam, and I've seen this right from 1991, a lot of you wouldn't have been born for so many years by then, for 30 odd years, has been very, very similar all throughout the last 30 years. There are questions which are very easy, there are questions which are difficult, and there are questions which are moderate, seemingly easy sometimes, but take away a lot of your time. The whole idea in life when you are writing an exam, and of course when you are writing your mocks also, is to recognize when you read a question whether it is easy, moderate level of difficulty, or very difficult that you need to not touch with a barge pole. So in other words, in very simple words, you need to know two things. One is you need to know yourself. Where are you good at? How good are you in whichever areas that this exam comes up with? And the second one is, do you know the paper well? Do you understand how the paper is structured in such a way that your maximization of scores comes only from where you are good at? I'll give you one more very, very important point, and I'm sure a lot of you know this, but it's a point we miss when we are writing the actual exam. This CAT paper has 198 marks for the asking, 66 questions, 3 marks per question. But do you know something? You just need to get about 95 marks, less than half, less than 50% of the marks to get into an IIM. And if you can get 50% or 55% of the total marks of 198, somewhere around 100, 102, 104, you probably get into an IIM Ahmedabad, Bangalore, Calcuttas of the world. While everybody understands this logic of the marks, it's just that you get just bogged down in that 2 hours. And hence, attempting the exam is very, very important the right way. Attempting the exam the right way is very, very important. Let's look at how each of the sections that we can pick up and see whether there is a way in which you can do the 40 minutes correctly. The first one, the verbal ability and reading comprehension section. Now the problem with the VARC section is there are 4 RC passages and there are 8 questions in verbal ability. Should you start with a verbal area? Should you start with reading comprehension? especially when you are beginning the exam, because that's the section 1, it takes a lot of your toll. The kind of reading that you do, you are reading the first paragraph, first sentence, etc., and nothing goes into your head. So are you that kind of a person that you would not want to start off with an RC? Or are you that kind of a person that you are already, okay, the moment it says, okay, go, and you are ready to concentrate? Depending on the person that you are, I told you this, you need to know yourself well to be able to do well. You can attempt the strategies differently. So one strategy is attempting with a starting of the reading comprehension section. You have 40 minutes. So if I were to look at it, divide your 40 minutes as 28 minutes and 12 minutes for RC and verbal, or 30 minutes and 10 minutes for RC and verbal. 4 passages are there. 4 passages are, in other words, for each passage you have about 7 minutes to 7.5 minutes. When people think about it, it looks very, very difficult to do in 7.5 minutes. But let me tell you something very, very important and mathematical about it. Every RC passage has not more than 500 to 550 words in that. 4 questions come along with it, with 4 choices. If you add all the words from the question and the 4 choices, it will not be more than 100, more often than not 70, 80 words. In other words, you are, for every passage, 500 questions plus another 400 for each of the passage plus 4 questions, 900 words is all that you are attempting. Even at a very average or a below average reading speeds of 150 words per minute, even if you do it very comfortably, you will not take more than 6 minutes to finish one passage if you do it one round. Even if you read it second time, 7-8 minutes is more than sufficient. And if you're talking about 10 minutes, I think it's like you can do it twice over. And this is where you need to recognize that, hey, I will focus and make sure that I will not spend more than 28 minutes or a maximum of 30 minutes for each of my 4 passages. That is the first strategy. The second one is, okay, there is a stop loss there. You need to stop that at 30 minutes because there will be easy questions. Remember, I said you need to know your exam. There are easy questions in all areas. There are difficult questions in all areas. Within RC also, there could be one question which will be very difficult even though the passage is easy. The idea, therefore, is to not miss out on easy questions. And hence, allocating at least 10 minutes for your verbal side, that is 8 questions, is very, very important. In that 8 minutes or in that 10 minutes that you have, you should probably look at solving the parajumbles, the odd parajumbles, the sentence completion questions. And if you are able to, there are questions where it is theta questions within verbal ability also. Don't leave them out. Just go ahead and mark them. That is your strategy 1. That is you starting with your RC. The second one is an obvious one. You start with the verbal ability section. The same 30 minutes and 10 minutes, but you start with VA. In this case, I am saying start with your sentence completion or odd parajumbles first in the first 6-7 minutes. If you're able to do it, great. 7th minute, stop it. And then spend 30 minutes to your RC or 28 or 30 minutes to your RC and come back to 1 or 2 questions which possibly will be left out in the verbal section. Now, which one is better for you? That depends on the mocks that you're writing. I will tell you at the end of it that we are giving at Careers 360 20 mocks, but more about it later. But the fact is, you need to experiment, you need to understand how good you are, in which way you will get the maximum marks, and go ahead with your strategy for VARC. The one area which people are afraid of these days, especially, is data interpretation and logical reasoning. DILR as they call it. Everybody thinks they are good in that, but when we start really solving it, you easily get stuck. Sometimes you do only one set, sometimes you don't even do one set, and you feel that, wow, this is going to be going nowhere. But there is a method in the madness, and I believe you have to be very clinical in your approach to attempting this DILR. The first one is there a possibility that you can solve all the sets? My answer is yes. Having said that, there may be a possibility that you can do 3 sets and one set very consciously, because it is either lengthy or it is complex or it is very difficult, you probably leave it out. But how do you know which ones to leave out, which ones to pick in the first place? I think that is where strategy comes into picture. And the first one, or the strategy 1, I would say, is something like this. Can you spend first about 3 minutes per, you start with set 1. You are spending 3 minutes to read the set carefully, read the questions also carefully, and then take a decision saying that, hey, can I solve this? How do you decide this? You decide this on 2 bases, on 2 points, if I can say it, or 2 important parameters. The first one, is it familiar to you? Have you seen something similar before? If you have seen something before, clearly that familiarity will feel, it gives you a strength to go ahead with it. But that's not the only reason why you should take a decision. There is a second and very, very important point that you need to consider, and that is the complexity. If there are too many conditions, let's say it's a LR question set, and there are too many conditions given to you, and the choices also. For example, if the questions are given wherein there are many conditions in the choices, maybe that is not a very, very good set to pick up. But if it is straightforward, and there will be quite a lot of straightforward, at least 2 sets which will be very straightforward in the CAT 2024, and I'm kind of, going ahead and betting on that, you know that you can do the set. But when you're picking up that set also, you'll spend another 9 minutes for that. In other words, first 3 minutes to read it and then take a decision whether you can solve it or you can't solve it. If you can solve it, you think that it is familiar and not very complex, you will spend the next 8-9 minutes. That's about 12 minutes per set, 11 to 12 minutes. Then the next set, then the next set, probably the 4th set. One somewhere in between you will skip. You are in a position probably to solve 3 sets, but more importantly, see all the 4 sets. The next one, very, very quickly look at it, the way the table I've given you. You spend 3 minutes, then yes, I can solve the first set, I'll spend 9 minutes, 12 minutes. Second set, you spend 3 minutes, hey boss, I can't solve this, it's very complex, very lengthy, leave it. 3 minutes lost, no problems. Set 3, set 4 in the same way. Chances are very good that you can attempt anywhere between 9 to 14, 13, 14 questions. 9 to 14 questions is absolutely brilliant in a CAT DILR set. Now, one more thing, if you notice, there are 5 questions in each set, and that's what we expect. 5 questions in each set. I have very deliberately put in that you may probably do only 3 or 4 questions. Why is it that I'm saying that? Because within the 5 questions also, there will be 2 or 3 easy ones, and there could be 1 odd question or 2 odd questions which are very lengthy. Your smartness is in avoiding that very lengthy or difficult question. Remember, there are only 3 marks for every question. Whether you get it, whether it's an easy question or a difficult question, you're only getting 3 marks, and keep that in mind whenever you're attempting anything. No emotions involved. That is the first thing about test taking strategy. And the second one, a very interesting thing, but for people especially who are not getting that 95 plus percentiles, who want to get that 80 plus, 80, maybe 85 plus percentile, here is what I would say. First, spend 6 minutes looking at all the 4 sets. Then again the same problem. You need to still decide based on your familiarity and broad complexity that you can identify in that. Select the first 2 sets or 3 sets based on your own understanding. Remember, knowing your exam, knowing your ability, whether you are good, very good or bad, will be very, very essential for this. That is where the test taking strategies revolves around. And then for each set that you start, you need to have a stop loss, saying that after 4 or 5 minutes, if you're not able to solve it after giving it, I think it is time to skip. And here is what something it looks like. You give 12 minutes, maybe second set 6 minutes, but you can't solve it, get out of it, 12 minutes, or maybe even 15 minutes for one set. Fair enough, as long as you can get about 8 to 10 questions correct. 8 to 10 questions net correct if you can get. I think you will be touching 97 to 98 percentile in that section. And then we'll come to the most important, most fearsome for a lot of them. Non-engineers especially believe that quant is the most difficult one, but it is a very easy one if you do it with a very specific way of attempting. And what is that I'm talking about? There are two ways. One is the round-wise attempts. Very simple. Your job, once again, is to select the easy questions. Okay, actually it is not the same thing. Your job is to not only select easy questions, but also avoid difficult ones. Or leave it to those maybe a second time around if the question appears lengthy. In other words, here is what I'm saying. There are 22 questions in quant. Your job is to come to the 22nd question by the 26th minute or the 25th minute. So do it in two rounds. The first round is 25 minutes. And what are you doing? You're reading a question, taking a decision whether you can solve it or not. If you think it is a very easy question, very familiar question, very direct question, solve it. Otherwise, mark it for the second round. So in this round, you will attempt only those questions which are absolutely familiar, the formula you know, the concept that you know, and more importantly, you know that you can get it in 2-3 steps. Then what do? All the things which you can't solve or you can solve but you don't want to do it in the first round, mark them, and in the second round you have 12-13 minutes. In that 12-13 minutes, you will probably do 3-4 questions, giving 3 minutes per question. Fantastic is what I would say. That is one simple method, but this requires a lot of practice when you are attempting the mocks. The second strategy is a very straightforward strategy. You have a 40-minute paper. You will convert that into a 10-minute game. Each, because there are 24 questions, in fact written 24, 6. You will just do it 10 minutes, 6 questions. You will look at 6 questions, solve one or two, and keep going in that way. You will find that there will be a chunk of questions which will give you easily 3-4 continuous marks. And that is what you need to do for your quantitative strategy. Now, each of these strategies only will be effective when you spend time in trying that in the mocks. And that is where I'll come down to. We have compiled 20 mock tests for you, especially for CAT. You can download it for free. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel because more strategies, mistakes that you are making and you want to correct them, study plan related videos, and many more comes through Careers 360. Don't forget to press the bell button so that you can immediately get the notification of all of these videos. Before we go to the next video, there's one thing I will say, and that is, if you are confident about yourself as an individual, do not worry about what the rest of the people say about whether CAT is easy or difficult. It is an easy exam. 30 days is more than sufficient for you to solve and get through an IIM itself. Until the next video, thank you.